Welcome back everyone. In today's episode we are laying the flooring inside the truck. We are using 18mm marine ply that we got delivered from Wicks. We're also coating that up in our bitumen based Scotch underbody paint, the same paint that we used on the undercarriage of the truck, so that should help protect it from the elements as well. Now we are having to trim the boards down a little on each edge to make sure that the edges actually sit on the cross bearers.
Okay, so what we've got here is basically like an illustration, or my attempt at an illustration of the way that we're doing the flooring. So if you imagine that you've got the truck, like goes all the way back, all the way over there. So these represent like the cross bearers on the truck. So we've painted, these are aluminium, they're the C-section aluminium framework, the cross bearers. Now what we're doing is that we're cutting our pieces of flooring to the size to go to the edges of the truck. Now what happens at the edges of the truck is there's like some L bracket, what do you want to call it, like angle aluminium that runs like all the way around the entire frame of the truck. So it's sort of, the floor is going to sit inside that and on the cross bearers. Now an important thing here is that when we lay the first piece of floor, that it's going to come flush right up to the edge of the first cross bearer, but then the second cross bearer where it meets, the second one, I'm just going to move this camera around a little, you actually see it's overlapping. It's only like halfway through. So you see that, it's just halfway. And that's so the next piece of floor can sit on there, and then it'll happen, like the same thing will happen with the next cross bearer. It'll sit halfway on, and then that's how we're going to fix all of those in place. Just move this camera back to there so we can see the rest of this. So then there'll be board, board, and so on, and then that L angle will actually come up and it will cover this grain. We'll get the focus right. So the grain here, like the end, will be covered by this L angle. So it's the same all the way around, and then where the ends butt up to each other, these are going to be treated anyway with our bitumen underbody stuff. They'll meet here, so there'll be no water ingress through any of the ends. That's kind of the idea. And then underneath of it, you'll literally just have the cross bearer, and then you'll just see the face of the board, which is all going to be treated as well. So everything from the underneath side is going to be totally treated. After that, what we're going to have is let me just move this back a little. What we're then going to have is we're going to use battens. Now this obviously isn't to scale. There'll be rows of battens along here, and then they'll have sections across as well. And what I'm purposely going to do is, I know that the boards that I'm putting on the top in millimeters are 2440 by 1220 millimeters. So I purposely space my battens to allow the boards to have a point to fix to. And again, when the top boards go on, they'll overlap with a batten. So the next board can go on and also have a fixing point, and so on. So just to give you a very, very simple demonstration of how this is going to look, it's going to go a batten, there'll be insulation, which is the same thickness as the batten, and that'll cover everywhere else. We'll use that way around. So imagine that insulation is covering all of that wooden area, and then on the top you will have the top part of the floor. So you'll end up with a nice little sandwich. Which is the cross bearer at the bottom. You've got our floor, which is 18mm of exterior structural hardwood ply, coated in our bitumen underbody to protect it. And then you've got our batten framework. On top of that, you've got our 25mm of Celotex insulation, which is foil backed, you can see. And we also will be foil taping all of the joins as well to create a vapor barrier. And then on top of that, we will then use 12mm OSB, and that will make up our floor. Okay, so I've not yet mentioned fixings about how we're fixing this down. So I just wanted to take a moment just to show you, and I've got my little pointer pencil here to help things out. So with the floor, what we did, excuse me, when we fix this down, is we've used a self-tapping screw. So this is aluminium at the bottom, this isn't actually timber. So we've gone through the ply and then we need to go through the aluminium. Now, rather than drilling holes through and then putting a screw through, we've actually used a self-tapping screw. So it basically means that it drills the hole through the aluminium for you, and it also then screws. So I can't remember which ones we used because we've used them all, and I can't find any. I've just been looking everywhere to try and find some to show you. We used a self-tapping screw. We made sure that it was sat flush with the board as it sunk, and then that's obviously then gone through the aluminium. Now, an important thing here for us is that when we've fixed through, we want as few holes through our sort of primary floor as possible, because we don't want any water ingress and we don't want the board to be damaged in any sort of way due to weathering. Then what we've done when we fixed our batten down is we've used a 35mm screw. So the batten is 25mm. Now what we've done purposely when we've sat these is we've actually countersunk them quite a fair bit, and they just go into the board nicely, as you'll see, and they don't actually come through the bottom of the board. We just countersink them a few mil like that. That's how we did that. And then when we put our top floor on, we've just used again, fixing to the battens, the same 35mm screws again. So nice and easy. We've not, even if they have gone down a little bit, they'll have only just touched. If they have been sunk a little, they'll have only just maybe touched, maybe not even touched at all, that first primary floor, the plywood. So that's how we fixed everything down. Self-tapping screws through the aluminium for the ply, and then 35 for the battens to the ply, and then 35mm screws for the OSB to the battens. Dead easy. Hey guys, just while the kettle's boiling, I just want to take a moment to say that if you've not yet taken the time to subscribe to the channel, I just ask you just to pop over and click that little subscribe button there. It'd mean a hell of a difference to us. 95% of the people who are watching our videos don't subscribe to the channel, so you're going to miss out on all of the latest content. Thank you very much for watching so far, and we'll get cracking straight back on.
So here's everything pretty much finished. We've got the last little bit to do. Now the reason that we can't do that right now is you might remember that there was a crossbearer at the back of the truck that needed replacing. So we've gone as far as we can go, and then once that's been replaced, we can then get on with the rest of the floor.